Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello learners. In the Unit 5 of Behavioral Foundations today, learners, we will be discussing the topic of theories of money demand. Let us see what we are going to discuss in this. We will be understanding that what are the post-Keynesian approaches to the demand of money, and then we will be going about the understanding of the Baumol-Tobin approach of transaction demand of money in this lecture. And in the subsequent lecture, we will be understanding the portfolio demand of money theory given by Tobin. Before we start the lecture, learners, let me take you back to the Unit 2 of our course where we discussed about the LM curve. We had said that LM curve is the locus of all those points where the money market is in equilibrium. That means the demand of money is equal to the supply of money. There we had introduced the concept of money demand, which was given by Keynes. What had Keynes said that why do we demand money? Keynes had given three motives for demand of money. One was called as transaction demand of money motive. Second was the precaution demand of money. And then was the speculative motive of demand of money. Also, we understood that the transaction and the precaution money demand is determined by the income of the person. And the speculative demand of money is a function of the rate of interest. That is what we had done in Unit 2 when we were talking about the demand of money. That was the Keynes theory of the liquidity preference of demand of money. Now, what we are going to study in this particular unit is what are the developments with respect to the demand of money after the theory of Keynes was given. There were various reasons as to why these theories developed. Let us understand that why these theories or these approaches emerged after the liquidity preference demand of money. One reason was this, that Keynes had explicitly recognized that money is a medium of exchange. What do we mean by medium of exchange? That is, money is basically used an intermediary between somebody who is buying and somebody who is selling. So money is facilitating the trade of goods and services because we are exchanging goods and services in lieu of money. So Keynes had said that money is needed for the purpose of transaction because it is a medium of exchange. And also he had said that money is also needed because people have a speculative purpose in mind. So they make a choice that how much money they will keep with them in order to be invested in speculation, or how much money will they keep in banks. That would be dependent on the rate of interest. However, this particular approach of Keynes with respect to speculative demand of money has only visualized that people hold their assets in either money or in bonds. That is, according to him, the speculative demand of money arises because people are choosing to hold money either in cash or all in bonds. So he is not talking about that people may be willing to hold their wealth as a combination of both bonds and money or cash. So this particular proposition given by Keynes seems to be very unrealistically, particularly when we see a lot of financial markets development taking place. So we do see people hold cash, hold money, as well as people invest their money somewhere so that money acts as a store of value. So these modern theories of money demand emerged, and which said that even the transaction purpose, which according to Keynes is only dependent on income, these theories say that the money demand for transaction purpose or as a medium of exchange is also to a certain extent gets impacted by the rate of interest, or the transaction demand of money is also interest elastic. That is, how much is the rate of interest or the changes in the rate of interest will have an impact on the transaction demand of money also. So two things we have said here. Once the Keynes approach was criticized, or it was found that it is not true that people for the purpose of speculation keep money only for the purpose of cash or only in bonds. People maybe want to have a combination of both money and bonds. So this particular point was missing when we talked about Keynes theory, which has come up recently. Other point which has come up is that according to Keynes, transaction demand of money was only dependent on income, as we have just mentioned, and we have also discussed it in detail in Unit 2. But according to these modern approaches, post-Keynesian approaches as we are naming them, they say that even the transaction demand of money, that is money which is demanded by the people for the purpose of making transactions, is also interest elastic, that is, it is also getting impacted by the rate of interest. So, when we are talking about these theories, because we saw certain lacunas in the liquidity preference theory of demand of money given by Keynes, two types of money demand theories have developed. One, the theories which are talking about the transaction motive. These are called as the transaction theories, and their emphasis is on the medium of exchange function of money. That is, they are saying that people need money for the purpose of transaction, but this demand of money for transaction to a certain extent is also dependent on the rate of interest. Second is the portfolio theories, which are emphasizing the demand of money as a store of value. That is, the speculative demand of money, they have taken it forward, the lacunas or the weaknesses which were in the speculative demand of money given by Keynes have tried to be corrected in the portfolio theories. So, when we are talking about this chapter, our focus will be of this particular topic, our focus will be on these two theories, one which are called as transaction theories and other which are portfolio theories. Both the theories are with respect to demand of money, and they try to explain that why people demand money and what are the factors which will determine that how much money will be demanded. And these theories are basically trying to plug in the weaknesses which were found in the Keynes money demand theory. So let us start with the transaction theory. And the most important model given here is by Baumol and Tobin, two economists. They have drawn this model trying to explain that how the transaction demand of money not only gets affected by the income of the person, but it also gets impacted because of the rate of interest and a few other things. Let us understand this. As we have just said that what do you mean by, we have been talking about that what is transaction demand of money. So the demand of money which is arising because we want to make regular payments for whatever goods and services which we are consuming, that demand is called as your transaction demand. And what does Baumol say? According to Baumol, people hold money to bridge the gap between the receipt of income and its spending. That is, if I ask you that why do you keep money in your purse? Why do you keep money in your wallet? You say, because I would need to spend it on my daily needs. Because I am not earning every day. Maybe I am getting my salary at the start of the month, whole month, but I am going to spend something or the other. So I keep this money with me because my receipt of income is maybe on the first of the month, but all through the month I am going to spend. So to bridge the gap which is between the receipt of income and the spending is the reason for people to hold money. This is what Baumol said. But then further he said that whenever we are talking about holding money, there is an opportunity cost which is involved. as well as there is a benefit also for holding this money. We are holding money. Why we are holding money according to him? Because there is a gap between my money with income when I am receiving and the spending which I am doing. So he says when people hold money, there is an opportunity cost associated with it, and of course there is also a benefit of holding this money. Now you must be wondering, what is the cost of holding this money? Cost of holding money means the cost which people incur when they hold funds in money is the opportunity cost of these funds. For example, I am saying that you are earning on the first of month 10,000 rupees, and this 10,000 rupees you are going to spend in the next 30 days. You keep this complete 10,000 rupees with you as cash and do not deposit anything in the bank. If you would have deposited this money in the bank, some part of this money in the bank, you would have earned some rate of interest. But you are not keeping any money in the bank, you are keeping this complete 10,000 rupees with you. This means you are losing on that interest income which you would have earned if you would have either kept this money in the bank or have invested it in any short-term or long-term instruments. So that is known as your opportunity cost. So what is the opportunity cost of holding money? The interest income which you are foregoing because you are keeping money in cash is the cost associated with it. But also we say that there is a benefit of holding money. What is the benefit of holding money? Benefit of holding money is that you have liquidity with you, that you have immediate cash availability with you. You do not have to run to the bank or liquidate your investment when your money need arises. So that is the benefit of holding money. So when we are talking about the cost, let us start with the cost first. So what we understood is that the opportunity cost of money holding is there because we are losing on the interest income because you are keeping these funds as money. And the transaction component of the demand of money according to Baumol-Tobin is negatively related to the level of interest. That is, if you would have kept the some amount of your money, some fraction of your income which you have earned at the starting of the month, continuing with the example which you are saying, then you would have earned some interest. That interest income you are sacrificing. More the rate of interest which you would have got, effectively speaking, less should be the cash holding which you should be having. So this is what they are saying, that the transaction component of the demand for money is negatively related to the level of interest. We will be seeing this in detail as to why they are saying it. So as novices, we can understand that of course there is some cost which is associated when we hold money in cash and decide not to keep it in the bank, and also that is negatively related with the rate of interest. Now let us understand this Baumol-Tobin model further. They say that it is basically an inventory theoretic model for the transaction demand of money. In the previous lecture of investment, remember, we have talked about inventory investment. What is an inventory? Inventory is basically the stock that you keep. So they are using a similar concept here. That is, they are saying that you are needing this transaction demand model we are understanding by taking into mind that the money which you are keeping in cash with you is as good as an inventory which the businessman keeps with him. So therefore, it is an inventory theoretic model, that the theory or the prime premises of this transaction model of Baumol-Tobin is based on this concept of inventory. To understand this inventory theoretic model, let us take a few things in mind. Let us denote that Y is your annual spending, which is smoothed over the year, or it is your income. I is the rate of interest, or whatever if you are investing in bonds, the rate of interest you are earning on bonds, or the interest which you get on the saving account. Capital N represents the number of transactions, that is how many times you as a person is converting these bonds, if you have invested in bonds, into money, or how many times you are, for example, if you have kept money in your bank account, how many times you are going in the bank and withdrawing it. And T is the transaction cost, which can be basically maybe you are traveling to the bank, there is a cost associated with it. Maybe there is a brokerage cost which you are giving to the stockbroker because he is converting your bond investment into cash. So these things we will be taking forward to understand the Baumol-Tobin model. So let us go move ahead. Let us say that you are earning an income of 10,000 rupees each month. And you have two assets in which you can divide this 10,000. Either you can keep the whole as money or in hard cash, or you can put it in bonds. So the two assets for the simplification we are saying money and bonds. Now if you decide to keep all your income in cash, that is you decide not to invest anything, you want to keep this 10,000 rupees in cash. This means that the average money balance which you have for the whole month is 10,000 divided by 2, which will be equal to 5,000. So this graph in this panel is explaining you the same thing. We are taking money holdings and the time period, because you are earning from the starting of the month. This is your income at the starting of the month. You spend it over a period of, let us say this is time period 1, or let us say it is a 1 month period. So you are spending this money over a period of time. So as the time is increasing, your money holdings are falling. Why? Because we are spending this money. You are spreading out your expenditure over a fixed period of time. So first of the month I am getting 10,000 rupees in hand, and this money I am keeping completely in cash, and what you are doing is you are spending it evenly over the end of the month, and when the 30th of the month comes, or when the last day of the month comes, you are not left with any balance. So your balance or your money holdings become 0. So you come on the x-axis. Therefore, your average money balance is 10,000, which was your income per month, and divided by 2 will be 5,000. Let us take another case. So this is the average we've just said, y by 2. Y is your 10,000 income. This is divided by 2, which gives you 5,000. Now let us move further. Now there is your friend, he also earns 10,000 rupees, but he says, okay, let me keep half of it as cash, and let me keep half of it in bonds or in any saving bank instrument. So his income is also 10,000, but he is keeping only half in cash. Rest 5, this means out of 10,000, how much is he keeping in cash? He is keeping 5,000 rupees in cash. This means that his average money balance would be 5,000, which he is keeping in cash, divided by 2. Let us see this graph, it will help you to understand it better. Now here we are saying that instead of 10,000, your money holding has become half, it is 5,000. So in the starting of the month, you earn 10,000. You keep 5,000 in cash, 5,000 you keep in bank. So this means at the first of the month, this is your money holding of 5,000. You are going to utilize this 5,000 evenly till the 15th of the month, means half of the month. 5,000 gets over because it is spread evenly over a period of 1 month. So what do you do then? Your money is over in the half during mid of the month. So you go again to the bank, get back that money 5,000 which you had kept in the bank, and then spend it evenly for next 15 days. So this means that on an average you are keeping a money holding of y by 4. Y is your income. By 4 because you are keeping only half in cash and half you are keeping in bank. Once you are exhausted with that half amount which you have kept in cash, you go back to the bank and get it. So what is the difference between the first and the second situation? In the first situation, you had kept 10,000 rupees completely as cash. You are not earning a single amount as your interest because you had not kept any money in your saving bank. As compared to this, your friend has decided to keep 5,000 with him in cash for 15-day period and then 5,000 in the saving bank. So what has happened for him is that he has earned that some rate of interest on that 5,000 rupees which he has kept in bank. And after 15 days he is going back, withdrawing that 5,000 and again spending it till the end of the month. So Baumol-Tobin talked about this only. That is, there is a trade-off of keeping less cash. What is this trade-off? We have just done this. We'll understand it again. There was an income gain for your friend because he decided to keep some amount of money in the bank. So he earned some rate of interest, which you lost because you decided that I will not keep any money in the bank. I will keep all the money in cash. So the loss of your income is basically your opportunity cost of holding this money. So that is your cost. Second, there is a benefit also which has come to you but not to your friend. Why? Because because you kept everything in cash, you did not have to make trip to the bank at the middle of the month to withdraw that cash. Similarly, there was no brokerage fee involved if your friend had invested in any kind of bonds. If we are saying here is that if there is therefore a trade-off. If you decide to keep whole money in cash, you are losing the interest income. The income gain is not there. But if you are keeping that whole money in cash, there is a benefit in terms of loss of your time, loss of the cost in traveling, or loss of the transaction cost of converting your investment back into cash. So we call it as a trade-off of keeping less cash. Income gain, that is, if you keep less money in cash, you are going to earn some income, but side by side, you are also going to have some type of cost involved in terms of brokerage fee or more trips to the bank. So the interpretation here is that if the rate of interest, which is represented by small I here, is more, then there is a greater gain from keeping that money in the bank. So as a rational person, you are less likely to hold cash. Therefore, whenever the rate of interest is more, the demand of money to be kept in cash would be less because opportunity cost will be more. So this interpretation we can make with respect to the theory which is given by Baumol-Tobin. Now moving further, with the same model, using the same criteria that we had done, that you keep, for example, no money in cash, then you decide to keep half money in cash, maybe later on you decide to keep only 1/3 money in cash. Now that's a mathematical calculation we do, and after that Baumol-Tobin had found this, which is known as a Baumol-Tobin square root formula, which talks about what is the optimum demand of money, keeping opportunity cost and the benefits of holding cash. The square root formula is given here, which says the optimal demand of money is a square root of y into t divided by 2 times I. So if we want to calculate that what should be the optimal demand of money, they say that it is the square root of y into t divided by 2 times I. What is y? Y is the income. T is what? The transaction cost which is associated if you keep money in your banks, and I is the rate of interest with which we calculated the opportunity cost. What does this formula make you understand? This formula basically tells you that the demand of money is also, the demand of money, we are talking about the transaction demand of money, is also dependent on rate of interest and the transaction cost. It is not only dependent on income, which was given by Keynes. Baumol-Tobin said that there is this two extra variables which are having an impact on the demand of money. And if you see this formula carefully, it reveals that the elasticity of money demand, that is the factors which affect that money demand with respect to income, that is your Y, is 0.5. Transaction cost represented by capital T, it is also 0.5, and with respect to the rate of interest, it is minus 0.5. Now you must be wondering, where did we get this 0.5 from? My dear learners, if you have a look at this formula, which is called as a square root formula, you see money demand optimal when you want to determine, we say it is square root of y into t upon 2 times I. What is square root? Square root in simple words means that this whole thing is raised to the power of 1 by 2 or 0.5. Okay, so this means that the demand of money is directly related to your income, and the elasticity of money demand with respect to income is 0.5. Similarly, with respect to transaction cost, which is capital T, is also 0.5. And with the rate of interest, it is negatively related, it is minus 0.5. Why it is related negatively with the rate of interest? Because we have seen in the previous slide also that when the rate of interest is more, you will be having a greater opportunity cost. So you would like to have less money in cash. You would like to hold less money in cash. Similarly, if your transaction cost is more, you will say, if the transaction cost is more, why should I keep so much money in bank? Because brokerage fee is high. Every time I go to the bank, it costs me so much time and so much transportation cost I involve. So let me keep more money in cash. Similarly, Y is directly related to demand of money, transaction demand of money. It has been already explained by Keynes, who said that income is directly related to demand of money, because when your income increases, of course, your expenditure also increased. That we have already discussed. So, this is revealing that transaction demand of money is, of course, that related not only to income but also to other variables like the transaction cost of converting money, your bonds or saving accounts into cash, and the rate of interest. So if you see the next formula which we have seen, we say money demand is a function of not only Y but also the transaction cost, also the rate of interest. Why a plus sign on Y? A plus sign on Y means that demand of money is directly related to income. Plus sign on transaction cost means money demand is directly related to transaction cost, because if your transaction cost, which is going to the bank, brokerage fees, inconvenience cost, if it is more, you would not like to keep a lot of money invested in a bank. You would like to keep that money in hard cash. And then the rate of interest, it is negatively related, because rate of interest gives you the opportunity cost of holding money in cash. So this is what Baumol and Tobin explained with respect to demand of money. They extended the model, or they tried to plug in the weaknesses of the Keynes theory, which only talk about the income being a determinant of the transaction demand of money. Now, let us again summarize this, what we have said. Whereas Keynes said that transaction for money was independent of rate of interest, Baumol-Tobin said that money is sensitive to the rate of interest, because people lose this interest income if they keep everything money. If the transaction, for the purpose of transaction, they keep money only completely in cash. So therefore, according to them, the curve of transaction demand of money slopes downwards with respect to the rate of interest. Now there is a small brain teaser I am giving to you, learners. These theories, when they were propounded, at that time we did not have something called as digital banking, or something called as internet banking, or we did not have many ATMs or your wallets which we use these days. So you tell me the impact, or think about what impact of digital banking has been on the money demand. All of us hold a debit card these days. All of us have some kind of a wallet with which we make transactions, UPI transactions we make, maybe with the Google Pay, with Paytm, with Bheem account, we make these transactions. So the exercise which I'm giving to you to ponder over is that after the 1990s, we have seen the growth of your ATM, automated teller machines. And also we have seen that how e-wallets and UPI transactions have increased manyfold in India. What has been the impact of this on money demand? What has changed because of these two things? That is what I leave you with. And in the next part of the lecture, we will be going over to the portfolio money demand theories. Thank you.